and she remembered a huge guy, 5 times her size, chain smoking and hooking her up to a lie detector machine every day for 5 days straight, and threatening that if she failed the test, she'd be thrown into the East River.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at the most shocking and disturbing revelations from the ongoing federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs so far. Warning, certain information contains distressing details.
Well, Diane, I can tell you that jurors are seeing some very explicit text messages that are just too graphic to share on air here.
Mistreatment of employees.
She said that Combs screamed at her, once pushed her in a pool, even threw a computer towards her, narrowly missing her head.
Some of the more unsettling revelations from the trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs stem from his alleged toxic treatment of employees. Testimony from a former assistant, who spoke under the pseudonym Mia, described a grueling work environment where she was subjected to alleged emotional degradation, assault, and sleep deprivation, even purportedly having to beg to attend her grandmother's funeral.
She said that she really worked in fear and that sometimes she would go days on end, Kate, without sleeping, and that in one instance, when she was working for Combs in Las Vegas while he had nightclub appearances, that she went 5 days with no sleep.
Capricorn Clark, another former employee, recounted a time when a diamond jewelry bag went missing, and Combs allegedly had her locked in an office and subjected to 5 days of polygraph tests.
She testified that this man said if she flunked the test, they're going to throw you in the East River.
She also alleges Diddy physically assaulted her after a chef she confided in told him she hated her job.
In 2008, she said Sean Combs charged at her and kept shoving her with his hand. She demonstrated for the jury until pushing her all the way out of his house in Miami Beach when she said that she hates it here and forced her out of the house.
Meanwhile, other past employees described the, quote, nightmare scenes they were made to clean up following various hotel freak-offs.
Often threw out empty baby oil bottles and once threw out a powdery crystal substance.
Extreme control over Cassie.
She felt like her livelihood, her career, her life really depended on Sean Combs and keeping him happy.
During Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial, multiple testimonies painted a disturbing picture of his alleged control over ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. According to Cassie's own sworn statements, Combs exerted near-total dominance over her daily life, dictating her appearance, routines, and even who she could speak to.
The abuse started very early on. He had her career in his hands.
She alleges he forced her to carry out non-consensual acts while also claiming she was plied with illegal substances and filmed without her consent.
She was passed around and objectified by men, and with other men she didn't want to be having sex with on Sean Combs' whim.
Former employees also corroborated aspects of her story, including a former bodyguard who stated that Combs would often confiscate Cassie's phone. Cassie's former stylist, Deontay Nash, says Diddy used threats to control her, including jeopardizing her music career and blackmailing her with explicit recordings.
He heard Combs tell Cassie that he wouldn't put her music out, that he would get her parents fired from their jobs, that he would put out sex tapes.
Ongoing Suge Knight rivalry. The trial also shed light on Diddy's long-standing rivalry with Suge Knight, the head of rival label Death Row Records. Capricorn Clark alleges that on her first day working for Diddy, the music mogul threatened her about her past connections to Death Row Records, saying that if he found out she had ties to Knight, he'd, quote, have to kill her.
He didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to kill me.
David James, a former assistant to Diddy, described another incident involving Suge Knight. After picking up food from a diner and spotting Suge, James said Combs demanded that he be driven to the diner to confront him. Diddy allegedly sat in the back with, quote, 3 handguns in his lap. However, James testified that when they arrived, Knight had left.
To discover that that rivalry was still very much alive, and so much alive that you needed allegedly 3 weapons to go to deal with it, I think was a bit of a shock for people.
Substance use.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use in the relationship that she had for all those years with Sean Combs.
Testimonies during the trial have highlighted Diddy's alleged substance use issues, with many saying they witnessed the rapper receive and take illegal substances. The so-called freak-offs, orchestrated sex performances, were also said to be characterized by the use of illicit substances. Cassie, who has been open about her own dependence on opioids, claims Combs did copious amounts of narcotics, independently as well as together.
She said drug dependence influenced some of the rapper's mood swings, and also spoke again about her own drug addiction.
She recounted an instance where Diddy allegedly overdosed on painkillers in February 2012. Cassie stated that he had taken a, quote, very strong opiate following a party he threw at the Playboy Mansion in Los Angeles. When she took him to the hospital, she says she learned that he had overdosed and nearly died. Possession of firearms. Damning testimony at Diddy's trial also paints a troubling picture of his relationship with firearms.
Special Agent Gerard Gannon showed the jury items he testified were seized from Combs' Miami Beach home, including lubricant, lingerie, and loaded assault rifles.
Special Agent Gerard Gannon of Homeland Security Investigations testified about leading the high-profile March 2024 raid on Combs' Miami Beach home. Gannon explained that they recovered various firearms, some loaded, some not, as well as cases of ammunition. The federal agent showed the jury photos of the weapons, noting that their serial numbers had been scratched off.
We found the guns, we found those with labels scratched off, serial numbers scratched off, so that speaks to the illegality of the guns.
Ex-employees also testified to seeing firearms at Combs' residences and noted that the music mogul was allegedly often armed with a handgun.
And it was a .45 caliber handgun that he says was found in the guest house of Diddy's Miami Beach property that you see right there in a suitcase.
Capricorn Clark even asserts that when Diddy discovered Cassie was dating Kid Cudi, he came to her home and kidnapped her at gunpoint.
And she says that Combs showed up to her apartment early in the morning with a gun and kidnapped her.
Explosive Kid Cudi encounter.
Prosecutors say Combs was so upset about that relationship, he had Cudi's convertible blown up by a firebomb.
When Kid Cudi, born Scott Mescudi, testified about his brief relationship with Cassie in December 2011, he said he was warned that Diddy was enraged over their involvement. Allegedly, Diddy and his associates entered Cudi's residence when he was not there. When Cudi returned home, he noticed his security cameras had been moved, gifts were unwrapped, and his dog was locked in a bathroom.
Babysitter for his dog called him and said, "Your car's on fire." And when he arrived, the police were there taking photos, taking evidence at the time, but no one has been charged in connection to that incident, Morgan.
Cudi reported the incident to police. A month later, his Porsche was set on fire in his driveway in what he described as a, quote, Molotov cocktail attack. Cudi said he later confronted Diddy at a hotel, describing his demeanor as Marvel's supervillain-like, but he denied involvement in the car fire.
They all met at the Soho house, made amends. Cudi asked him about the car at the time, and Combs denied knowing anything about it. But Kid Cudi did say that years later, Combs apologized to him.
Above the law.
Flores testified he recognized the man in the lobby as Combs, so he's identified Sean Diddy Combs here, and that he found Combs to have a devilish stare.
Several testimonies have portrayed Sean Diddy Combs as having an above-the-law mentality. Former assistant Mia said she was made to believe that Diddy's authority was, quote, above the police. Further sharing, quote, it was a time period years and years before social media or Me Too or any other example where someone had stood up successfully to someone in power like him. This assertion is perhaps best punctuated by Combs' alleged actions following his attack on Cassie at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016. Los Angeles police officer Israel Flores, who was working as a security guard at the hotel and called to assist Cassie following the attack, testified that Diddy allegedly attempted to silence him with a stack of money, claiming he handed it to him and said, quote, don't tell anyone.
Sean Combs tried to offer him money, to give him money to make this go away.
Forceful freak-offs.
Today, they didn't have to use their imagination, though. It got real in that courtroom today when the jurors, not the public, not the press, when the jurors saw still screenshots from these freak-offs.
Multiple witnesses have given disturbing testimony about Diddy's so-called freak-offs, which play a central role in the prosecution's case.
Saying here after the freak-off, the room was pretty bad off. The candle wax, the all over the place. And then she described it as having a pungent smell.
Cassie described the gatherings as choreographed performances tailored to satisfy Diddy's fantasies, where assistants and security staff prepared rooms with condoms, plenty of baby oil, Astroglide, and cameras.
High heels, a lot of them. Also bottles and bottles of Astroglide and baby oil and lubricant.
Sheree Hayes, an exotic dancer known as the Punisher, testified that Diddy gave explicit instructions during his encounters, even down to candle placement. The federal indictment claims that employees of the Combs business helped procure women, illicit substances, and large sums of cash. Witnesses testified that Diddy used his wealth, influence, and threats to manipulate victims into participating, often filming the encounters and holding onto the footage for alleged blackmail purposes.
Those videos specifically of the Freakoffs. She testified that Diddy threatened to release them when he got angry.
Sexual assaults. Perhaps the most harrowing testimonies at Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial have been the accounts that expose a pattern of alleged indecent assaults. Cassie Ventura testified in graphic detail about how Combs allegedly sexually assaulted her.
Ventura is now married, expecting her third child. Her husband, Alex Fine, listened as his wife described one of the last times she says she saw Combs.
Addressing the courtroom, Cassie recounted how Diddy forced his way into her Los Angeles apartment and committed the indecent act on the living room floor after she said she was breaking up with him.
I just remember crying and saying no, but it was very fast. I don't know if he noticed.
The former assistant, identified as Mia, also gave emotional testimony, alleging that Diddy sporadically sexually assaulted her over the 8 years she worked for him.
That she witnessed abuse, that she was abused by Combs, violence, sexual assault.
These alleged accounts mirror a mountain of other claims Diddy faces from civil lawsuits.
The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Relentless abuse of Cassie. Allegations of abuse toward Cassie Ventura have been a central focus of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial, with Cassie detailing her own experiences and multiple witnesses providing additional accounts.
She felt, quote, scared, trapped, like how do you get out of this situation?
Stylist Deontay Nash testified he saw Combs physically assault her many times and once had to jump on Diddy's back to intervene.
Mia also recounted a story about Combs coming to Ventura's apartment one day. He was very upset. He couldn't reach her. Ultimately, he ended up attacking her and hitting her head on the side of a bed.
Ex-assistant Mia described seeing Combs throw Cassie to the ground, crack her head open, and chase her during a trip to Turks and Caicos. Former Danity Kane member Don Richard recalled a disturbing incident where Combs allegedly tried to hit Cassie with a skillet full of eggs.
She told jurors that she saw Combs hit Ventura with a skillet full of eggs at his Los Angeles home in 2009.
Former assistant George Kaplan also testified about a violent episode aboard a private jet. And Carrie Morgan, Cassie's former friend, recounted a trip to Jamaica where she saw Diddy, quote, dragging Cassie. After fleeing, she says she later hid with her in a ditch.
Ventura got up and ran into the woods, and Morgan eventually found Ventura, and they were hiding in a ditch while Combs and another friend was looking for them.
Which dark and disturbing revelation from Diddy's federal trial so far shocked you the most? Share your thoughts on the high-profile trafficking case in the comments below.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges in the case.